sorry, that's just anti-trans.
All right, I'll watch this one. This is Trans Women Are Women by Soulbunni. And I don't know, we'll see, because I've seen something else by this person and it was interesting, shall we say. Oh, nice, congrats. How are you healing up? It took a while for me. I couldn't walk for a while properly. Okay, obnoxiously quiet, good start.
Hey y'all, it's so funny. I'm here today to discuss a very nuanced conversation that I've been wanting to have for the longest. As being a trans woman, I've encountered
Nuanced conversation, that being trans women are women. I guess, let's see.
A lot of just things that I feel, some hypocrisy potentially, or, just things are bizarre that didn't fully make sense and had really made me very aware of my transness, specifically from people that I expected to be inclusive to me. And I also want to make it known that this is a sensitive topic.
Listen, we're talking about people you expect to be inclusive to you. Fucking hell. Try saying anything that the trans people don't agree with.
So I'm going to make sure that everyone knows that I don't believe that all bisexual or pansexual people perpetuate this. This is a very specific segment of the bisexual community, specifically cis men. Again, not all cis men, bisexual, or pansexual people move this way. This is just something that I've noticed and other trans women have noticed. And the way we interact with our gender of these folks has been very clear. And it's experiences that I've heard from other trans women, as you'll hear in this video, and understand that we are bringing nuance. And again, we're sharing our experiences. I like to start with the very video that started this whole video concept, as it showcases a lot of the interactions we have as trans women when we go out into the dating.
You had a wheelchair, wow. I just stayed in bed for like several days. I didn't bring enough stuff to do with me either, so like I was sat in the hospital. It was fun when the morphine was flowing, but after that it got a bit shit.
The other day I was out at the club and I saw some of my friends, and there was this new guy that was with them. He was visiting from out of town and he recognized me from my YouTube channel. If someone knows my YouTube channel, they're probably aware of my transness, and if I'm being honest—
Look, it's Cat Black again. We're talking about a transness. I don't know what transness even means. They're aware that you're trans. What's your transness?
with you guys, I'm not really used to that.
What transness do I have? How much transness do I have, personally? On a scale of 1 to 10, what's the transness rating, I
ended up getting paired off with this new dude, and I really did enjoy his company. People are drinking, we're hanging out, having conversations, and it's really clear that this dude is interested in chatting with one of the women in the room because he's trying to hit and quit it. Because we were talking throughout the night, I think he thought that I was interested in him. And so as a way to pull away from the conversation, he said to me that he is a—
That's left you at the doorstep, that makes
The
sense.
thing that I found really fun—
Yeah, when my mum took me back to her car, she was like, it's like walking with your nan. I'm like, gee, thanks.
Conversation, he said to me that he is a— The thing that I found really funny about this is—
A what?
Said to me that he is a—
What am I supposed to think this is saying? I don't understand. Oh, I don't know.
The thing
Zaniel.
that I found really funny about this is that I was not even remotely attracted to this dude. But I just nodded my head and watched him go and try to talk to another woman, and of course strike out, because he's the kind of guy who says—
For the duration of this video, I'll be using the word vegetarian to avoid the possibility of this video being demonetized because certain words can't be said. Segue into this next segment, I am changing rabbit ears as we're going to get into the topic of bisexuals and pansexuals. Trans men and trans women have different experiences when dealing with bisexual people, especially because it comes down to genitalia, and people operate differently based on those genitalia. In many instances, I've noticed, and so has other trans women noticed, that some bisexuals will date trans men but will not date trans women. Sadly, some trans men have found out in the worst cases where they weren't truly as
Fair enough.
affirming as they state to be. In some cases, it's not.
Like, I wish it improved my falsetto, but sadly it did not. It still doesn't sound... I mean, I don't like my falsetto anyway.
And it might just be a simple case of them being a vegetarian, as I like to say. This reality that trans women don't have the genitalia that is preferred by many cis people has been the crux of a lot of our trauma and what we deal with when it comes to being invalidated in our womanhood. A lot of the times we're not picked because we don't have bottom surgery. And even sometimes when we do get bottom surgery, we're still not picked, we're still not considered. And even some people who identify as bi still choose not to yes. Moving on, I like to showcase this video that Cat Black really goes into her experiences and really showcases that this is a conversation that even predates me, who's been trans since middle school.
Can we talk about the fact that a lot of men say they're pansexual when what they really mean is that they're attracted to people who have— So I'm a transgender woman who tends to be read—
Okay.
They're pansexual when what they really mean is that they're attracted to people who have— So I'm a trans—
Well, maybe the term pansexual is kind of pretentious in the first place and kind of useless, so I don't know.
Gender woman who tends to be read as cis. And one of the common experiences that I have socializing and flirting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, is that a lot of people are attracted to me, but they're not attracted to me because I'm a trans woman. They're attracted to me because they assume that I am a cis woman. And something that I've ran into several times is the dude who is incredibly pronounced about his pansexual identity.
Yeah, because it's fashion, it's bullshit. It doesn't mean anything. These people pretend to be woke. They're not actually. This shit turns on and off like a light switch. I don't know many people whose wokeism is actually fucking genuine, to be honest with you.
Who ultimately ends up rejecting me because I'm a trans woman. Now, on paper, I've often said that I prefer bi/pansexual men. But the reality for me is most men who I have personally met and known who identify as bisexual are not inclusive of transgender women.
Which is their prerogative.
Men who identify as heterosexual are not inclusive of transgender women.
Which again, their prerogative.
But men who identify as pansexual are by definition inclusive of transgender women.
Yeah, this is why pansexual. Just what's the point in this term? Like, I don't fucking know. And so when I've interacted with men who have told me they're pansexual, a pansexual person still doesn't have to be attracted to any one person, by the way. Should you assume they're attracted to trans women? They might be. They might just not be attracted to you. Tend to assume that they're attracted to trans women. And if they're calling themselves pan, that could mean literally anything. Oh, you like my album? Thank you so much. Maybe I should put a link to it. I don't have my thing open. It's fine. But yeah, people should listen. Post-punk. Oh, thank you. I didn't really know what genre I was trying to do. It's just kind of indie rock, but dark. I don't know. Generally speaking, when men flirt with me, I have an incredible amount of anxiety because I am so used to men not knowing that I'm trans and very aware of the fact that them knowing I'm trans will lead to me being rejected by them. And I'm totally fine with that. I'm personally not the sort of person who really believes in like convincing men, you know, like if you're not attracted to trans women, you're not attracted to trans women. I've said many times, but I'm a person who centers my sexual happiness. And a lot of that relies on me being with men who know what they're doing and aren't intimidated or unattracted to my body. So I'm not interested in convincing men to be attracted to me. However, I have been in a lot of situations with men who say that they're pansexual when really what they mean is they're attracted to maybe a diverse gendered group of people who are all diverse gendered group of people who are all designated female at birth. Just say you're fucking straight at that point. Like, Jesus Christ, get with the program. People call themselves like pretentious shit because they might get some social clout out of it. They might get a fucking conversation with someone. Oh, you're pan? Tell me more about that. And then it leads to somewhere potentially. Like, this should be obvious. I don't know. I don't know why this isn't fucking obvious. Designated female at birth. Yeah, they're straight. They're straight. That's what it is. Because men tend to assume that I'm designated female at birth, what ends up happening is men who identify as pansexual but aren't attracted to trans women end up tripping up when they meet me.
So far, I can say I've had this parallel experience as I've been out for ever since middle school, and especially in my adulthood, I have noticed being a cis-passing trans woman that I've came across many bisexual, pansexual, and heterosexual men that assume I'm AFAB, assume I'm cis, and when it comes down to it, when we talk, I'm rejected. And this is something that I've just never really wrapped my head around, and it's something I've gone through for years and years, and I'm finally at a point where I can sit back, articulate my feelings, and understand that this is just me dealing with people who are Unitarians. I'd be lying if I said this wasn't frustrating.
What?
That this is just me dealing with people who are Unitarians. I'd be articulate my feelings and understand that this is just me dealing with people who are Unitarians.
Unitarian? I don't care that much.
I'd be lying if I said this wasn't frustrating, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to force anyone to be into me. I still want to deal with people that actually are into who I am. So when coming across these folks has been very frustrating, especially in the last 4 or 5 months when I decided to talk to people who identify as bisexual and pansexual.
God, how many times people say things like, what's the word I'm looking for? Over 35 pansexual. There's probably fucking millions of them. Listen, where do you think these teenage girls are getting it from? I know so many older people, much older than me in some cases, that are proper into this like gender and like non-binary and like bizarro sexualities kind of shit, you know? What was she saying again? Yeah, there's so much complaining about, oh, well, you know, I'm not complaining. They're always saying things like, well, you know, I'm understanding if someone's not attracted to me personally, that's fine, but then go on to complain a shit ton about that very thing.
Coming across these folks has been very frustrating, especially in the last 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, it sucks getting your time wasted, but I mean, is that not kind of a universal experience? Maybe it's harder if you're trans, sure, but like, you know,
when I decided to talk to people who identify as bisexual and pansexual, as that's what I go for to avoid being rejected for being a trans woman. And the fact that I have just as much anxiety talking to bisexual and pansexual men because of the fear of them not truly being into me.
I don't know. I just don't believe people when they say they're pan most of the time. It doesn't mean anything to me. Seems easier that way. And if you're giving a really weird, like, sexuality, there's always ways around why you're not attracted to a particular person. So it's like, can you really complain? Like, maybe they just genuinely went into you but are into trans people. You don't really know that, so.
Solely on the basis of me being trans regarding my genitalia.
Like, how often do they know that? How often do they know? How often do they know that that's what it is? Like, do they tend to come out with the fact that they're trans and then they get rejected? I'm not sure. I'm not being presented.
The other night where
I'm not being presented with the actual situation, and I don't trust most people's word. I'm sorry.
And this is fresh on my mind because I had this experience just the other night where I met this really cute guy and he told me that he was pansexual and he was really loud about being pansexual. He told everyone.
Yeah, that's a fucking red flag is what that is. That means it's bullshit. That means this guy's probably straight as fuck.
Around us that he was pan, and there were a couple.
Jesus, that's the most obvious pose like ever. If someone's that loud about it, just know. They want attention. They want people to think they're much deeper than they really are or much woker than they really are. It's bullshit.
Couple of people who may have been a little gender diverse around us at the time. And, you know, he was really...
because he's like showing off. He wants to seem like he's in with the crowd and like cool and stuff. I don't know why you'd like... I don't think it's weird. Sexuality is indoctrination. It's social currency born as of gay acceptance. Well, yeah, but I mean, that thing has been like advancing since before I was born, right? Like, the people that have been like pushing this stuff have been like older than us, you know, older than me. I don't know how old you are. So I think they kind of play into each other, and it's obviously, yeah, it's like super normalized now. So like the younger people just pick it up because it's just there, you know, but I think it was probably come up with more by people older than me.
He attracted to me and you know, he was grabbing, you know, we were heading into an intimate moment. And when I meet a man who identifies as pansexual, I do feel a little bit of ease because I don't really have to worry about being rejected.
See, I feel bad for this person. I think they're a bit naive. I think often maybe it happens with trans people, like they hear some woke identity come out of someone's mouth and they assume, oh shit, someone finally for me, and then it's not. But hey, you know, this like sexuality, gender spectrum shit, like, this makes it really easy for people to take on identities they don't have, you know, and get your hopes up. I'm sorry. It's a huge problem with the system you're working in. And hey.
Because I'm transgender. Because again, pansexuality, at least on paper, is the one sexuality that states that they're attracted to trans.
Hey, it's a TikTok in which someone discovers lying for the first time. How nice.
Gender people. But when ultimately this guy figured out that I was trans by touching me at a certain place, he pulled away.
Wait, so you let him find out by... No, okay, I don't know. I don't know the situation. I don't know if it was like... But then if it wasn't invited, she'd be complaining about him like sexually assaulting her. Like very validly. What's the fucking word? She'd have an extremely good case if he was just reaching in. Oh shit, there's a penis there. Why were you reaching in the first place? So you let him find out that way, like, that's going to be a shock to the system even if it doesn't really bother him, you know?
And eventually we had a conversation where he told me that, you know, he is attracted to me, but he wasn't expecting for me to be transgender, and that just kind of...
Yeah, it's like a shock to the system. Like, he might have to make a snap decision there, and he's possibly going to change his opinion quite a lot, I don't know.
Change things for him. Which, of course, you know, isn't the kind of reaction you would expect for someone to have when they say that they're pansexual.
Oh, you poor sweet summer child. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that there's men out there that are full of shit. I'm so sorry that when certain men see a load of gender people around, they're going to start appropriating some of that identity stuff, and that it might not be genuine, and that they might just be saying it to seem cool with you and to get a conversation. Because, hey, if you're hanging around with gender people, even if he thinks you're cis, he probably thinks you're down with that stuff as well, you know? Like, I feel so bad for you, Cat Black. Listen, I roasted you earlier, but now I'm just You know, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you had to find out this way, you know.
Now, I am immensely uncomfortable with the idea of questioning somebody's sexuality, but I have to be realistic, right?
Why? Why? You should always be able to fucking stand your ground if you think someone's bullshitting, whether it's sexuality, whether it's gender identity, anything. You always have to be able to fucking stand your ground. Otherwise, at a certain point, these things cease to mean anything.
Realistically, what I have observed
Exactly, you have to be realistic. And he's bullshitting. And your kind of spaces make it easy for people to do this kind of shit, unfortunately. The way you use language, the way you don't gatekeep anything. This is what you're bringing in. I don't know how much Cat Blaque does this. I think she's probably decently, you know, of the trans opinion. I don't know how I'm supposed to state this kind of shit, because when I say it's culty, it sounds like a conspiracy theory. But like, there's a certain ideology that a lot of trans people follow. Okay, let's get rid of any doubt that this is a thing. And I think she tends to follow it quite closely. She must know that this is the kind of thing you risk, because this is what people like me have been saying for ages. If anyone can call themselves trans, you don't really know who's trans and who isn't. Especially when it's like online communities where you can't see or hear anyone. But, you know, we think we have to believe everyone and then get fucking lied to over and over. I just don't understand it. I feel bad for her, but like, come on. Extremist indoctrinate. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to do. I've been calling it like cult shit, and like, I don't really like how it sounds when I listen back when I'm editing and stuff, but I'm at a loss for like, because everything you describe it as, it's like, oh, you're using the right wing talking points. It's like, fuck off, you fucking gaslighting prick. Not you, I'm talking about the people that give me shit about this. Anyway. It's not that she deserves this, but you should be able to see this kind of thing coming. People are going to lie. People are going to take on these exotic identities and sexualities to seem cool.
Is because there are an ever-increasing group of people who are designated female at birth, who identify as some
Designated female at birth.
form of transgender, usually non-binary, who these men are still attracted.
Non-binary isn't a form of transgender. Non-binary is queer shit. Call it queer shit. You can have it. Queers, you can have non-binary. It's queer shit. Call it queer shit. It's fine. I'm not saying queer shit in a bad way, but it's queer shit.
Attracted to. A lot of men have started to describe themselves as pansexual.
Yeah, in the hope that they'll get laid with a few more people. Like, some of the trans men still look like something they'd do, you know? Plenty of men aren't very fussy. They'll call themselves that to get in. It's not difficult. You either want to have some kind of not gaslight. You either want to have some form of, like, gatekeeping for whichever particular identity, or just accept that you're going to get lied to. And if you decide that the way for a man to find out what your sex is for them to have a little feel, which I'm guessing must have been consensual, because you're not complaining about sexual assault, because that would be sexual assault otherwise. Like, that's not the best way for someone to find out either. Like, I don't know. It's like we're determined to do everything as wrong as possible, and then complain at the rest of the world for not working when we do everything wrong. I don't understand at all. I don't.
As a way of including them. And I think that they do this because you really can't look at somebody and know what their gender is like that. Like, a lot of these guys are the kind of guys who are attracted to tomboys, right? And they are attracted to that kind of like...
Yeah. Oh my God, stop making it so difficult. It's just, they want to get laid. And many men will say anything. Why do we have to talk about how many different genders there are within the female spectrum of assigned female at birth? Like, it's not that simple. It's not that simple. It's not that deep. It is that simple.
Androgynous thing that a lot of non-binary people have, but you can't just look at somebody and assume, you know, that they are non-binary or...
What difference does it make? Especially to a guy that just wants to fuck a girl. What difference does it make if they're non-binary? I'm sorry. Oh my God.
A pre-T trans guy or just a tomboy, so it's, I think, a little bit easier for them to say that they're pansexual and be received well. And then...
Yes, and it gives them, like, social clout in the right fucking scenario. Like, it's easy. You're making it easy for them. And you're, like, completely overanalyzing it while you're doing it, over-intellectualizing it. Like, there's a much simpler explanation. They want to get laid. And they'll say whatever the best thing is to get laid. They'll fit in with the kind of trends that you all are following. Yes, they're trends. Fuck you. Like, it's not, it could be so much easier if you just think with your brain. I don't know what I'm supposed to say.
And especially because these are also the same kind of guys who tend to be attracted to women who are attracted to women. There's also
What, straight guys? Yeah, many. Oh my god. Why do I feel like I'm supposed to find this the most deep and like intellectual thing I've ever heard? But instead, everything is just making a simple concept more confusing because you're adding in all this non-binary stuff, which actually has nothing to do with anything in this case, because the men are attracted to the sex rather than genders. Pansexual isn't even a thing in this instance. They're just straight.
an aspect of this where they really want to, you know, not be that annoying straight guy, right? And so if they say
Yes,
they're heterosexual,
because you won't stop hating on them. Oh my god, are you serious? Like, I can't tell if this is a joke or not. I can't tell if she's about to come around and say something that, like, indicates that she knows what's going on, you know?
the likelihood of them connecting well with this type of defab person is very, very low. So saying they're pansexual gets them in the door, right? They get to be able to be that open-minded dude who, you know, is so much different than just a typical straight guy. But the reality is most of these dudes are the typical straight guy. They're just a typical straight guy who is attracted to a woman who is not typically feminine, right? And this particular dude kept
Yes, because pan is basically meaningless. Well done.
kind of talking about that because he kept referring to this other girl as a tomboy and me as a princess because I have a little bit more of a feminine personality and I was really concerned about like what we were doing, where we were going, and I was less go with the flow. A lot of men are attracted to tomboys because they find them to be less high maintenance, right? And so even personality-wise, this guy and I weren't necessarily meshing because, you know, even after the whole trans part came out, I was, you know, the girl who wanted to know where we were going and what was going on, and he wanted me to be more chill and go with the flow, and that was annoying to him. And this other girl was definitely not as into that, right?
Is she jealous? Maybe she is. Listen, I don't know the situation, but it's funny to pretend, you know?
And the thing is, I've had this experience quite a bit. And it's bizarre for me because it's not like this guy like pulled me aside and mentions that he's pansexual. These are usually men
It
who
keeps happening. Why wouldn't you change the way you interact with these supposed pansexual men? I don't understand. Like, obviously they're straight guys. Like, it's like she's the first person to ever discover this or something. It's kind of, I don't know. Oh my god.
who go above and beyond to tell me and everyone around them that they're pansexual, right? And so it's bizarre when they reject me because I'm a trans woman, because a pansexual person, at least in theory, doesn't really care about that sort of thing. And believe it or not, I have definitely been rejected quite a bit by men who identify as pansexual because I am not defab, and it's very bizarre.
It's a phenomenon that I've seen firsthand, especially with friends that are trans masc, AFABs, and so on. It's very interesting to kind of see folks use bisexual and pansexual to solely have access to people with the genitalia of folks that are assigned female effort, and also in the same breath reject trans women, and also sometimes cis gay men, including femboys, because their bisexuality and their pansexuality does not include us. And again, when it comes to pansexuals, this should be something that doesn't matter because you care about the person, who they are, not what our sex is. And this has been something that has been immensely confusing for many trans women, especially with people who state that they're into women. So it leaves us with saying, what does this mean? What does this mean about my womanhood? Am I not seen as a woman? Or does my genitalia invalidate my womanhood? Am I put in a category where you just see me as a feminine man? So in these special cases, for these very specific individuals within the bi and pansexual community who use these labels to get in the door, to not seem like the annoying straight guy, to have access to AFAB or DFAB people, it's very difficult to navigate, especially.
It's like you're making it, it's like you're giving them the key. Do you know what I mean? We've got all these genders now. It's not as complicated as just being straight or gay. Okay, well, what's the sexuality where you like lots of genders? Pansexuality. There we go. I'll call myself that then. Like, oh my god. Like, what are we... Just keep fucking watching. Like,
Especially when a lot of times, like, we're trying to avoid cis men. We're trying to avoid dealing with people that don't affirm us. They don't see us as a gender that we don't identify with. So in these instances,
cis men don't see you as the... Jesus. Damn, this guy would have been 100% just a gay dude if he didn't transition. RIP gays, I guess the claim's true. Hey, maybe, yeah. There seems to be a lot of them. I don't know. I don't see as many butch lesbians or twinks as I used to. Well, I still see a fair amount of twinks. But yeah, I don't know. They seemed fine 10, 20 years ago, but not now, I guess. But, you know, it's all natural. Trans is completely, like, a natural... Oh my god, I don't know.
it makes everything more complex, muddies the waters, and I truly, and especially
Yeah, what makes everything complex is the fucking million genders we have now. Hey, Woody Red, how you doing?
trans people, masc or not, don't know who's really there for them. And this is a conundrum that we're dealing with, especially within the
Well, then you gotta just focus less on the labels and more on the people and just kind of hope for the best. Yes, this is soulbunni. This video isn't as hilariously bad as the one I've seen by them with that. There was like some Asian lady who was like just saying the most like patronizing shit about white people constantly, I'm sure. And like, I can't remember. Maybe I'll watch that someday, but I saw other people like reacting to it ages ago.
Queer community where someone that might date a trans person that's a trans masc or AFAB will completely invalidate trans women, not see us as women, and repeatedly project us because they're vegetarian. And again, that is very frustrating because we actively avoid cishet men who
Actively avoid cishet men. So you go for pansexual men who are basically the same thing. Like just concentrate less on the labels and more on just getting to know people. What's wrong with that? Maybe the constant cishet men shit, maybe that's part of your problem.
want people with genitalia that we don't have. So when talking to pansexual people, it shouldn't be this difficult to be seen as a woman worthy of being dated on the sole basis of us being women. But again,
well, you can only, I mean, like what are you supposed to do if no one's really dating you? You'll feel like you're unworthy, but like, it's not just trans women that even have this experience. I mean, hey, there's plenty of fucking trans women incels out there, so, you know, I don't know, but like, are we entitled to that kind of thing? Should we have these experiences? Is anyone entitled to that? I don't know. For me personally, I found it much easier to not really focus on what people's identities are and not really focus on what labels we can put on people. How many of these cishet men that you're avoiding might actually have been into you? You don't know. And if you're too focused on what labels you can slap on them, then you'll never know. So, hey, I don't know. Myself, I think the approach is what's problem here.
genitalia, which is the oldest transphobic.
I guess the issue to these people is that people lie about being pan, which, you know, what do you expect?
In the book has prevented us from having access to romance. And sometimes, if they do go for us, it's solely in a sexual aspect, objectifying us and not seeing us as potential partners.
You know, on paper,
I'm glad there's no example whatsoever, so that's nice. It is a soulbunni video, but it's actually a second Cat Blaque video in disguise. At least Cat Blaque is... I mean, she's coming across very naive, but at least she's not talking about whether Iman Khalif is trans or not.
I say that I prefer bi or pansexual men because straight men give me the most anxiety. But in all reality, I connect the best with straight men. And
yes, because these labels are the problem half the time. We build up these stereotypes and shit on, like, straight white cis men constantly. Yeah, it's going to give you bias in your head, and oddly, I'm not going to say it's, like, bigoted, but, like, what? Like, she's literally laying out her own problem here.
Because straight men give me the most anxiety. But in all reality, I connect the best with straight men. And straight men...
You see what I mean? Like, we're complaining about, like, straight men and stuff, and it's like, well, take away the labels and stuff and just treat them as people. It turns out plenty of them are actually cool. I don't know. And the odd one might date you because some straight men do include trans people.
And are somewhat more likely to connect with me, maybe not be as comfortable with me being trans at first, but then become more interested because they're attracted to me. And a lot of the pansexual guys that I've met, or at least guys who call themselves pansexual, are really just solely focused on this idea of a person that they're interested in having a... And...
yeah, and lying to people in an effort to getting that pussy. This did not need... I don't know how long this particular TikTok is, because it seems like there's been clips of the same one kind of peppered through, apart from this one, which is different. Like, geez, I could have answered this in like 5 seconds.
They don't really care.
I think the lesbian, gay, bi, trans, pansexual stuff is nonsense, created through society. Okay, I think Sam says some kind of similar stuff. Like, I guess we attach identities, there, you know. I can't remember what I said, I'm really sorry. Once I've said it, it's like gone forever until I watch it back, and then it's probably gone forever again. Which makes it really annoying when I get comments like trying to say that I'm spreading misinformation, but there's no like timestamp. Because I'm like, well, where? I don't fucking remember what I said. I'm already looking at the next thing I said.
Care about the gender identity of that person as long as they have a... That's what pansexuality means for this group of men. And you know, on the flip side, I have watched a lot...
No, it means whatever they want it to mean in order to fucking get laid. How are we still over intellectualizing this? Is BW's BF a form of straight or a form of gay? Include some trans. Yeah, some of them do, of course. I used to assume it was born this way, but the past years, the trans movement has made me question that. Yeah, I mean, I don't honestly know whether I think that I'm born this way or whether it's something that I've displaced onto it, or who knows, maybe gender dysphoria has some other cause that we don't know about. I really don't know. But I don't really care because I'm fine with who I am. If I'm a weird man who got his dick inverted and grew breasts and wears makeup and shit, then hey, I can live with that, you know. My life's not that bad. I can live as one of those, and if that's what someone insists, you know, whatever.
Men pursue relationships with non-binary people or pre-T.
Then they're not straight. It depends on your perspective at that point. Excuse me, disgusting. Yeah, it depends on your perspective. I mean, some people see the gender more, some people see the sex more. Like, for example, we pronoun people much more based on gender than sex because we pronoun people based on what we see. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just don't care anymore. I used to be very invested in my own trans identity, and I realized I'm actually a lot happier not being so. Where I just, you know, I'm a male, I can accept that. That's what I was born as, that's what I'll die as. I've made certain changes to become more like a female. There's going to be people who will perceive me as that, there's going to be people who won't, and I don't really care that much. So, yeah.
Trans men who they frankly just see as women with a quirky gender expression. And I've seen these relationships not go well.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're saying. That's fine. Listen, I don't have to agree with everyone and everything. That's the whole point. Like, I'd rather there was actual discussion, and I'd rather be able to talk about how I feel without someone jumping down my throat every time.
Because the moment the trans person really wants to start taking tea, wants to start medically transitioning, et cetera, they lose interest, right? And so it's this really bizarre thing that you see where these guys who say that they are inclusive of trans people are actually not inclusive of trans people. Taking tea, wants to start medically transitioning, et cetera, they lose interest.
I don't know. I don't know how many more times I need to say they're lying to you. They're having you on. They just want to fuck a woman. They'll say anything, some guys. Like, you make it easy. You leave the keys out and then wonder why they're trying to break in your house.
Right? And so it's this really bizarre thing that you see where these guys who say that they are inclusive of trans people are actually not inclusive of trans people who medically transition at all. They are inclusive of non-binary defab folks who are a little androgynous. They're inclusive.
What the fuck does defab mean? I don't even want to know. Don't even tell me. We're talking about women right now, okay? We're talking about women.
Of trans men who are pre-transition. They're inclusive of tomboys.
There's a really, really quick translation for this. This TikTok, I don't know how long it is. It could have been like this. You know what I mean? It could have been, some guys say they're pansexual. They're lying. There you go. Easy. I have pelvic floor spasms and my pee smells so weird. Is that queer? That's very queer, to be fair. You're officially a queer now.
But they're not inclusive of transgender.
You're more queer than I am.
Women, feminine men, androgynous men. They are really just attracted to people with vagina. And there's nothing wrong with that. My frustration.
There's nothing wrong with that, but you're going to keep talking about it. Designated female at birth. Why is it designated? You're not designated. Oh, I don't fucking know. Some people say observed, some people say assigned. I don't know why we need to have a million different words for the same thing. I've done several videos recently where it was pretty much just people trying to redefine male and female. We've got AFAB, we've got AMAB. You use them in exactly the same way you use male and female. Well, it's just male and female again. Oh, what about... Oh, fuck, I can't remember. There was this really stupid fucking video that I watched about a third of because it almost killed me. It was just male and female again, everything they suggest. Why not just accept that sex exists? Why not just accept, if you're a male, that that's what you are, even if it's not how you're living your life, you know?
With this is that there's nothing wrong with their sexuality. They're just using a sexuality label that is supposed to include trans people to mean only the trans people who haven't medically transitioned who have... Anyway.
Longest TikTok ever for something that could have been summed up in 2 seconds.
Just want to talk about that. That's a really common thing that I've experienced, and it is truly very bizarre because these dudes will go out of their...
It's not bizarre. It's really not. It's not bizarre at all. I don't know how old Cat Black is.
Way to brag about being pansexual. And I know it's because sometimes these men think that I might be some form of non-binary or, tomboy.
Well, she said with the last one that, like, there were other gender people around, you know? Oh, I don't know. How are you supposed to, like... Oh, I don't know. Let's just get fucking through this.
Person. But, like, that's not me. Sorry. Just a trans woman. But anyway, just want to share that with you guys.
Nothing wrong with their sexuality, which means this person thinks there's something wrong with you if you're anything but hetero. Not good. Ooh. Yeah, the things slip out all the time, unfortunately. Hey, this is the reason why I can't do the woke shit, because I would just constantly be saying unwoke shit, even if I didn't mean it, because I'm just like that, so.
You guys, I don't want to invalidate anybody's sexuality, but like, we got to talk about this because
Well, it's not even about invalidating someone's sexuality, because you're assuming that everyone who has an identity is genuine about that identity. The problem is people lie about their sexuality. The problem is people lie about their gender, sometimes for the exact same reason. That's my opinion, in honesty, but not supposed to be her opinion. Didn't Vorsh hit? Oh, Jesus Christ, I don't even want to think about that, quite honestly. I know Tacoma wept when he had to come off of Tinder or whatever, but
there's way too many dudes who are identifying as pansexual, but what they really mean is attracted to anyone.
Well, she had a bust up with Vorsh after his retarded fucking his JKR tweet telling women be quiet and start apologizing challenge. They had a huge bust up over that, and he fell out with ContraPoints as well. Like blaque, put black.
Anyone with
It is very relatable hearing Cat Blaque talk about being perceived as AFAB and having men come up and share their bisexuality or pansexuality with us and being ultimately rejected. You would think this conversation ends here, but as you'll see, Cat Blaque has to deal with some really non-understanding responses from some folks who potentially have different experiences, and if not, possibly are focusing on the bisexual and pansexual person and not
Folks is a map dog whistle, by the way. Be careful.
hearing what the trans person has to say, as what happens more often than not.
All right, I'm gonna have to stop having this conversation because it's starting to really get on my nerves, because I honestly
God, are we still bleeding this stone? Point that pansexual is a sexuality that's inclusive. There's been an excuse to be biphobic for years, and so it's you. What? I don't even fucking know. I don't know what biphobia really is. I don't know what people who are biphobic are like. I don't know what people who are anti-biphobic are like, because I see the word biphobia and I'm like, I just don't care. I'm sorry. I just don't care. I don't care at all. I'm sorry.
I feel like some of you guys are either not being honest, or, and I think this is maybe more true, we just have very different experiences.
This is almost hilarious in a way. It's like, how much can we spin around the point without ever getting any closer to it, despite the fact that we've literally said the point several fucking times by now.
If a man tells me he's heterosexual, I'm going to assume that that doesn't necessarily mean that he is inclusive of transgender women. Now, is my experience that a lot of heterosexual men are inclusive of transgender women? Absolutely. But by virtue of him saying that he's heterosexual, I'm
Exactly. If you can't make an acronym out of it, it's probably a map dog whistle.
probably going to assume that he's probably not interested in transgender women. So it becomes a
See,
conversation.
the logic is fine. I can see why you'd be a trans woman and say a bi guy is more likely to like me than a gay guy or a heterosexual guy. You know what I mean? Like, the logic checks out, but it's like, wouldn't you just kind of assume that, yeah, people are going to say the woke shit because you're trans and they think it'll impress you, or even because you're a woman. I mean, it doesn't even have to be because you're trans.
When it comes to bisexual people, I may think that they are more likely to be open to a transgender person than a heterosexual person, but my experience is
You'd think, but it's not going to play out like that. You don't know who's actually being honest about their sexuality. You don't know almost anything. Like, that's kind of the point of meeting new people. It's like the mystery and shit, I guess, you know.
that in comparison to heterosexual men, it's the same sort of toss-up. These people may or may not be attracted to transgender women, which is why it has to be a conversation. I understand why a lot of people don't like the term pansexual, because they think that
Transmisogynoir, yes, that was Soulbunni's thing. Soulbunni has barely said anything. She's just agreeing with Cat Blaque on everything. This is another Cat Blaque video. Like, I guess, hey, you wanted a Cat Blaque video so much that two came at once. I don't know.
bisexual covers it fully enough. But as I've said over and over again, my experience with bisexual men is that most of them are not interested in transgender women. I would say if I were to line up all of
I wonder if she also assumed black people might commit a violent crime, avoids black people out of safety. I don't know, because it's only okay to stereotype certain kinds of people, so... How does this free Palestine? Well, if I keep saying free Palestine, then they'll have to free Palestine because I'm saying it, because I'm British, and Israel was founded by the Brits for the Jews, so they have to listen to me. I'm sure they'll listen to me. If I say Israel, stop bombing things, they'll definitely listen any day now. I honestly have to be careful not to say it too often, because if I say it too often, they might make peace too quickly and it'll go into like negative time, and that could destroy everything. So there's actually a really good reason why the ceasefire hasn't happened yet. And now you're beginning to understand, you know?
All of the bisexual men that I've known, that I've socialized with, that I've tried to connect
They're being consistent. Well, yeah. I mean, listen, how many woke people have you heard be extremely inconsistent about race? Because when it comes to white people, it's, oh, wait, the standards don't apply anymore. Oh, shit, I can be racist now. Great. What I've always been waiting for. There we go.
with. Most of them aren't going to be attracted to transgender women. Some of them might be. But that all being said, like a heterosexual man with a bisexual man, because of my experiences, which is that just because they say they're attracted to women doesn't mean they mean trans women, it's a conversation that I have to have. Now,
that's something that you should always keep in mind. You're not gonna get the same guys that all the normal women are. Sorry about it.
Because a lot of people identify as pansexual in order to deliberately include transgender people, I'm more likely to assume that a person who identifies as pansexual is inclusive of transgender people.
Yes, because identity can be bullshit, including gender identity.
Which is the very reason why it baffled me that a man who identifies as pansexual...
I don't know if, these people have to, talk around these kind of issues so much, because if they say that something's just bullshit, they'd have to maybe accept that gender identities can also be bullshit, and that's extremely transphobic to say, apparently. But it doesn't make any sense, so...
Could literally only be attracted to people who have... Because the experience that I have, and this is the conversation I think a lot of y'all don't really want to have, is that a lot of bisexual men, and I keep saying that because I...
Have you all liked the stream, by the way? You should consider liking the stream. If I were you, I'd be liking the stream right now.
Really think from the conversations that I've had that there is a pretty distinct difference between how bi men experience bisexuality versus bi women. A lot of the bi men that I've known are really only interested in being with cis people.
Oh, hey, also, there's links in my my description. You can join the Discord if you're that way inclined. We talk about gender shit and other shit. You can support the stream in any way you wish. Yeah, have fun.
I mentioned this in the previous video, but one of the bi men that I tried to connect with explained it to me in the terms of when he sits down and imagines a woman and doing things to a woman, he does not imagine a transgender woman. He imagines a cis woman. And that is very much mapped onto his sexuality, and I don't personally feel correct.
Yeah, because sex is real. But good luck getting one of these people to ever say that, because our whole thing is basically our whole thing is basically pretending it doesn't exist. Like the stream, yeah. I could go on a whole rant about how everyone not liking the stream, there's a discrepancy, and it's all about, there's all these freeloaders watching my stuff and not liking it. But I won't do that because I'm nice. I'll just describe doing it instead.
Telling this person that they're not bisexual.
I'm still trying to make people feel guilty either way. Anyway, I'll stop pausing. I'm so sorry.
Or that their self-definition of bisexuality isn't accurate because of how they feel. Mind you, this particular person is very involved in bi LA. He's very involved with bi activism. He is very outspoken, very bi. He is the dude who's wearing the bi pride t-shirt.
Listen, activist types, just as likely to be fucking posers. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me on this.
All of the events, right? But he's somebody who identifies very strongly with bisexuality, but doesn't date.
We're hearing the word identify so much, and we're talking about bogus sexualities that people take on. It's please connect the dots. Please just say it out loud, what you've been clearly saying and trying not to say. Literally saying, though. People make this shit up. Just say it. Just say it. Please, I beg you.
Trans people. And it doesn't really feel right for me to try to police his sexuality and say, well, if you're going to identify as bisexual...
Why not? Why not? If it keeps happening, if you come across these guys that keep lying about their sexuality, maybe you fucking should. Oh, I don't want to police anything. I don't want to police anything, so I'll just be fucking lied to my whole life. Great. Great fucking ideology you've got there. Well done.
You need to be attracted to transgender people. Yes, a lot of bi people identify their sexuality in a way where bi and pan...
I can't. The words identify and sexuality are starting to kill my soul at this point. This goes on too much. I can't. Listen, people lie about their identity. People try and seem more woke than they are for their own gains. I'm sorry about it, okay? I'm so sorry about it. You can't just spend your whole life talking circles around yourself to excuse that, to try and make your own identity make sense. This is why I'm glad. This is why I'm glad I can just see myself as a male and a trans woman, which is a type of male. Because I don't have to cope about any of this shit. I can acknowledge that I was born a certain way and that I chose a certain lifestyle based on fucking factors. It's just so much easier. I couldn't, this is not dignified. This is I don't know. Well, we didn't learn much about soulbunni because this was just another Cat Blaque video. Listen, Cat Blaque seems nice enough, I'm sure. I don't know her personally. I disagree with a lot of the stuff she says, and it seems very, you know, queer slop. Just kind of, you're queer, you'll probably enjoy it because everyone else is saying this shit too, and goes round and round in circles because the bit in the middle is sex is real, and we need to get away from that if we can, but we can't because it is real. So we just end up going round in circles. That's pretty much my my summation of this video, I guess. There we go. Sorry, I'm racist now because I disagreed with Cat Blaque.